Lowdown, and welcome to another edition of Fan Talk. This time for Daniel Dubois against Joyce. Joyce winning via a 10th round stoppage with a jab. And Coach, what a fight, man! What a fight, first of all, and what an ending. Could you see that sort of ending happening?
I definitely see the ending happening, but I definitely thought that Joyce could take him late and really like drown him in deep water. Yeah, insane.
Insane, but you know what? Like from the opening round, Joyce kind of like, for me anyway, he kind of stamped his authority, took the center of the ring. He Dubois the first punch of the fight landed a solid jab, and it kind of set the tone for me. I mean, he was landing that jab at will. Dubois definitely won his fair share of rounds, but for me personally, it looked like that once Dubois saw that he was landing his best shots and Joe was taking them, and Joe was just coming back with that stiff jab. You could see the confidence kind of ebbing away from him, and then in the later rounds, his eye was sharp. And I was thinking, how long is he going to last with the eye like that? And we saw in the 10th round, he had enough. Like, what did you think?
It's crazy because I think it's weird. Remember when we first met? We met down at the Haymaker gym, and we got to spend a bit of time around Joyce. And like, when you heard David Haye talking about him and Salas talking about him, you thought, oh, they're just talking about him because he's their fighter. But then we saw a bit of it yourself, and then even in fights, you started seeing bits and pieces of it. And I always said, if you go into a fight and your game plan is to knock Joyce out, you're going to be in for a long night because he can take a punch. There's all that talk about, well, if you hit him hard enough, long enough, he'll go. But Dubois didn't really land tons and tons of punches. You know what I mean? I think Joyce did a really good job of disrupting him with his jab. It's that thing you say about thinking the first punch you should learn and master is a jab.
Yeah.
Disrupted his rhythm, kept on landing it. Eventually, the eye started going. And I got to a point where I started thinking, because the fight was a bit, not back and forth, but like you said, Dubois did win his share of rounds and landed some good shots. But I started thinking, maybe Joyce should start introducing the right hand here. But he didn't have to. Because the thing is that Dubois didn't move his head at all. So those are two things that any aspiring fighter, if you watch that fight, those are the two things you should pick up on. Is that one, that jab will get you everywhere. And two, please just move your head in it. Just move your head.
Yeah, I was surprised at the lack of head movement from Dubois, actually. He didn't move his head at all. But it was kind of it felt like a harsh lesson for Dubois in there because, like, I mean, I'm not going to lie, my pick was Dubois, but I was kind of flaking towards the end. I didn't, like, make it my prediction for Joyce in the end, but my prediction was Dubois. And it was always in the back of my mind, though, that Joyce has fought much better competition. He's been in there with the elites. He's been in there with Hrgović, Usyk, as amateurs. He's been in with much better professionals. And, I think it showed tonight. Like, the level of competition and experience.
Definitely, 100%. I think you could see the experience as well. And I think Joyce, he stayed really calm. Do you know what I mean? He could start throwing the right hand a little bit earlier, but then maybe left himself open to be countered. So he said, no, I'm going to stick with my jab. When Dubois starts going, I'm not going to come off my game plan. I'm going to keep with the jab. And one thing Joyce did really do well is once the eye started going, he started circling away from Dubois' right hand towards the blind eye. But also as well, when Dubois was landing, he was kind of pulling back. And normally you would say, don't go back in straight lines. But as Dubois was like leaning into shots, he's pulling back. So he's not taking the full impact of those shots. So he's pulled back a ton of those times. So a lot of the shots that you thought Dubois was landing flush probably weren't landing as hard as you'd thought they were. And I think he kind of said it at the end, I felt power like this before. He has got decent power, but he didn't hit me with anything that really shook me up kind of thing. And I think it's because it was like a good tactical addition to his thing to just take a little step back, take this thing out of shots.
Yeah. Well, listen, Coach, you train fighters. If you was in a position of Daniel Dubois tonight, his coach, and you saw your fighter getting jabbed like that, his eye was closing by the mid-rounds, what sort of instructions would you give him in order to kind of get himself back into the fight? Because like I said, on the cards, I haven't seen what the official cards are yet, but they're probably kind of close. Maybe, I don't know. What would you say to you? What advice would you give to your fighter if he was in that position?
So I think the first thing you'd say is to Dubois, because Dubois got a really good jab himself, is to get his jab going. I think he spent a lot of periods inactive waiting for Dubois for Joyce to throw his jab. So throw his jab, but when he's throwing his jab, kind of take his head offline to kind of slip as you're throwing it. So the jab, Joyce's jab's going over. Because Joyce wasn't throwing like a really hard, stiff jab. It was just touching him. He touched him often enough, made the eye come up. So my thing is, get your jab going yourself. Try and cause some damage yourself. But try and move your head offline when you're throwing your jab. Because we know Dubois can throw a right hand. We know he can throw a hook. But he should have got that jab going. And also, another thing I would have said as well is try and get that hook to the body going, get some body work going, slip under the shots, try and get something landed to the body as well. Because we saw Joyce get hurt a bit against Brighton Jennings with a
Yeah,
body
first
shot. And
round,
I'd say,
body shot. Yeah.
let's try and get under those punches and land some stuff to the body. He did land it quite a bit, but I don't think he didn't really commit to it. And I'm thinking, I've seen him get hurt to this. We know he can't crack his chin, but I've seen him get hurt to the body. So I'm going to go after what I know I can do. So try and step under those shots, start landing shots to the body.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, it's a fantastic win for Joyce. Surely he's got to move to the world level stage now. He's 35 years old.
100%.
What would you like to see next for both men, for Joyce and Dubois?
I feel bad for Dubois because it's kind of like you've seen it already. The fight hasn't been over an hour old. It's not an hour old, and people are saying, "Hey, he's quit and he's done and he's this and he's that."
I've seen a lot of that.
Come back. Yeah, it's harsh. Do you know what I mean? I think he can definitely come back. 100% he can come back. This talk about him being done is ridiculous. We saw the same thing after AJ when he got knocked out by Ruiz. These were two good level fighters, kind of at a similar level. There's always got to be a loser. We saw it with Groves and Miguel. There had to be a loser. Both of them ended up winning world titles. I think Dubois needs to go back. There's some technical stuff like the head movement thing. 100% that has to be implemented. You can't just wade in and think my power is going to get everybody out of there, because we saw tonight it won't. With Joe Joyce, he definitely needs to kick on now. I think he's at an age now where he can't hang about. He's got his British, Commonwealth, and European titles. He should definitely be looking for the world stage. And this isn't to say he goes to fight for a world title straight away, but get yourself in that mix. Do you know what I mean?
Has to, man. 35 years old, can't hang around now. Last one from you before you go, Coach. There's another heavyweight fight on tonight. Mike Tyson against Roy Jones. What's your prediction for that one?
I'm going to go with Mike Tyson simply because bigger man hits hard. I think Roy Jones' punch resistance was gone a little while ago. They always say the last thing that leaves you is your punch. And if Mike Tyson lands on him, he probably does and puts him away. Yeah.
I have to tend to agree. I did lean towards Jones, but now I'm flanking on this one as well. I just think the first jab that Tyson lands could set Jones in trouble, man.
Do you know what I mean? I thought if the fight took place when it was meant to take place in 2003, I think it was, I probably would have lent towards Roy Jones. Fresher, in a better place. Mike Tyson kind of was on his way out. He retired maybe 2 years later after that. But at this stage now, obviously, Roy Jones retired. Like Mike Tyson last fought 15 years ago. Roy Jones was only 2 or 3 years ago, but still, he's a heavyweight.
Yeah.
Once he lands, we've seen Roy Jones go against like Enzo Maccarinelli and people like that. And that's not an indictment on Enzo Maccarinelli's power, but Mike Tyson's power is a complete different thing.
Yeah, for sure. Even at 50 odd, man, you know that.
Yeah.
Coach, man, it's always a pleasure talking to you, bro. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening to talk to us and give us some of that good advice, bro. We'll have to catch up on the next one.
100%, definitely.